So, welcome back to my channel. This is Gamer Dom, and details on the changes to premium ammo, or special ammo as we're supposed to call it now, are beginning to come out. So this is mmowg.net, Italian game site, I believe. Always have some good stuff. In fact, increasingly they have more and more of the really good stuff about what's going on in World of Tanks. So they are reporting on the trials that are going on right now in Super Test for changes to premium ammo. Now, if you remember, if you didn't see my video, you won't remember, but if you didn't see my video before, what came out of Wargaming Fest 2018 the other week was a number of suggestions on how to improve the game, World of Tanks. One of them was to change the dynamics of what they like to call special ammo, what we call gold or premium ammo. So currently, as you're well aware, the situation with gold ammo is that for a considerable increase in cost in terms of shell price, you get extra penetration and at least the same amount of damage as the sort of standard armor piercing shell gets. So, you know, kind of what's been going on, as we all know, despite the official numbers that Wargaming talk about, clearly that's bullshit, because they wouldn't be doing these changes if that was true. But clearly, you know, if you play any games, the amount of gold spamming that's going on at the moment is just ridiculous. And most of the changes that have had to be made to armor profiles and armored tanks out there is to counteract the amount of gold flying around, because it just makes a nonsense of any kind of armor. You know, you've got tier 10 tanks firing gold at tier 8s in the map. It's just ridiculous, some of the stuff going on. Anyway, so Wargaming said, we know it's a problem, we're going to have a look at it, and one of the suggestions was to reduce the damage inflicted by premium ammo, special ammo, by 25 to 30%. So it would have the same penetration that it has today, but would reduce the actual damage. So you have a choice. You would have a choice. Do I spend extra credits or extra gold to use a shell that gives me increased penetration but up to 30% less alpha damage? And that's quite a tough decision, right? You know, that's a lot. That's a lot. So clearly they want to encourage people to use it sparingly, or yeah, maybe they don't. Maybe, as one of my viewers said, maybe they just want everyone to spam more gold because there's less damage. But I don't think that's necessarily the case. Also, just leave it exactly as it is, to be honest. So these are tests, and this is Super Tests, and as with all tests, you know, it's subject to change. But they've given us a number of the data points that they're working to. So I'll put, if I can remember, I'll put the link of this page on in the description down below. But you can see the changes they're looking at, and they're looking at on an individual basis. And as always, they're starting with tier 8s, but they're looking at, oh, and actually not completely all tier 8s. Anyway, they're looking at changing the metrics individually. So the IS-3 with its top gun, the 122 BL9 gun, currently does 390 damage, now bringing it down to 290 if you use the premium ammo. So, you know, as I say, standard, same amount of penetration as the gold has now, but you're losing 100 damage per shot. That's quite significant. And you can see all the numbers here. This is the T44 with its 100mm, losing 60 average damage per shot. The IS-7 losing 130 per shot. Wow. KV-5 less so, 75. It's only just been buffed, but losing 75. KV-2 with its heat round, currently 700, now 500 they're testing. Object 268, 750 currently, 530 now, 230 difference. That's a huge difference in damage. IS-4, 440 to 320. T100 LT, little Unicum's Wonder Tank, light tank, 300 down to 225. So 75 damage is quite a lot. The object 430U down 120 points. The Tiger 2 down 80 points. The Ferdinand down 130. The Mouse down 130. Jag Tiger down 140. Wow, that's the biggest one of the lot. 140 so far. E100. Oh no, this is the bigger. So from 750 to 530. So the heat shell on the E100 losing what's that? 220. That's a massive drop in damage per shot. Panther 2, 240 to 180. Jaegeru, 1050 to 735. Whoa, Jaegeru drivers will hate that. Leopard 1, 390 to 290. Pershing, 240 to 180. T57 Heavy, 400 to 300. You know, that clip reduction of 100 per shell is a lot. E4 75 to 530. Same with the E3. T69 240 to 180. Again, a clip. That's a big change. The heat shell on the T49 from 700 to 500. 200 difference on a little light tank. That's a big difference. The Patton 390 to 290. AMX 1390. 280 to 180, sorry, 240 to 180. The Batchat 25 ton down 100. The AMX AC, I think that's the tier 8 TD, isn't it? 400 to 300. Tortoise 400 to 300. Super Condra 4 to 3. Badger 480 to 350. TVP, both of those, the T50 51 320 to 240, and the Progetto M40 from 360 to 270. The TD, the WZ11111111G fake tank, 560 to 410. That's 130 difference, isn't it? And the one that the Uniscums get very, very excited about, the Type 5 Heavy. Now, I have to agree, this is a nonsense. This shell, this is the premium HE shell, does 1,400 damage. The standard HE shell does 110. You know, it's ludicrous that by paying a bit extra, you get extra damage on another HE shell. So they're talking about reducing the Type 5 Heavy's premium shell to 750 and turning it into a HESH shell, much like I guess like the British tanks have a HESH shell. So it'd be 750 damage, but penetration would go up to 193 millimeters for the HESH shell. Currently it's about 75 because it's just a straight HE shell. So the Type 4 and the Type 5, instead of having a premium HE, would have a HESH shell with 750 damage, 193 penetration, which actually I think is an interesting. That's an interesting. As somebody who loves driving those tanks, that's an interesting change, and I think that would make that an interesting loadout to put in your tank, because there are times when you're in the Type 5 Heavy and you're firing HE at things and you're just not really doing anything. The ability to swap out and put a HESH shell in and penetrate 193 if you can aim somewhere is kind of interesting. Whether you'd actually use it, I don't know, but there you go. So that is the first round of checks. They're it's super test right now, but there's some fairly significant drops in terms of actual alpha damage per shot if you're using the premium shells. Now, as I said at the beginning, these things could be changed. They are subject to change. It's purely a test at the moment. Now, what Wargaming are looking into, they talk about down here. Let me just find it. The questions they're looking to address are: how much will the damage inflicted by special ammunition, premium, gold to you and me, fall, especially against well-armored targets? Okay. How much damage other than will the other two types of shells take, so HE and AP? So will people start to use those shells more often than the gold shells? I would think they probably will. How will damage inflicted by HE shells be changed? So this is the thing with the Type 4 and the Type 5 Heavies. and how much will the rebalance affect the battle efficiency of individual vehicles. So this is one of the things they will look at really closely, is they'll look at the win rate for these tanks, the Super Conqueror, and they'll say if we change that penetration or change that alpha for its premium round from 400 to 300, how much does that change its win rate on the super tests as compared to the live server as it is at the moment? And you know, they'll make the decision based on that. And I have to say, I think this is a welcome initiative. I've always said something needs to be done about the gold spam, and maybe this is the way to do it. And I think it does present some interesting challenges. I think it becomes a bit more acceptable to use gold, because you know, we know that there are situations where gold shells are actually quite sensible. You know, I talked about this in my last video. If you fire at distance, then if you have a heat shell, it's a far more sensible shell to fire, because it doesn't lose penetration over distance. However, if you are armed with APCR rounds, the rounds fire quicker. So changing to APCR to fire at a target that's fast moving, particularly these little bastard wheeled things that are whizzing around at the moment, you know, is a sensible option. But the trouble is, everyone's just been firing solid gold, and that needs to change. That's just spoiling the game. Armour is an irrelevance when you roll out in a... I just played a couple of games earlier today, and I was out in, what was it, in the Mutant, and I came around a corner. I was exchanging fire with a heavy tank. There was a UDES hidden in the bushes. I couldn't even see him. He plonked 3 shells into me, couldn't pen me, swapped immediately to gold, and bang, bang, bang. The next 3 shells went straight through the front of my tank. Nothing I could do. I couldn't even see him. And yeah, I just think, what's the point? What's the point of armour if that sort of thing happens? And I know everybody encounters this. I mean, that guy at least had the decency to fire standard rounds to begin with, and then swapped over. There's enough players out there who just fire solid gold from the second the game starts. Doesn't matter what the target is, they'll fire at lightly armed vehicles, they'll fire at artillery, they'll fire at heavy tanks, all with gold, just because that's what Unica scums do, and that makes them a great player, I believe. Anyway, I think this is a good move. I'd love to know what you think. It's a bit scary to see some of your favourite tanks here. Looking at some of these things, you know, I've just unlocked where is it? Oh, here we go, WZ11111. I've just unlocked this thing. I don't actually use much heat in that thing, but you know, the fact it's now going to have, well, potentially could have 150 less damage per shot if I choose to hit the 2 key, is a little bit intimidating, but I can see the benefit and I can see the good for the game. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. Change, good thing, bad thing? I know it's subject to change because this is just a super test, but I think it's a move in the right direction. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it and found it interesting. If you did, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. In the meantime, enjoy your games, have fun, try not to take it too seriously, and I'll see you again soon. It's GamerDom, signing out.